Hi, this is O'Connor. Welcome to Forensic Accounting. This is an exciting unit. I just want to introduce myself briefly. You can find me on the internet, especially with my YouTube channel, Tech Asia, and also LinkedIn and so forth. I've been in Asia for 25 years. I've spent a lot of time visiting factories, working with suppliers and buyers. And you're probably thinking, what has this got to do with forensic accounting or fraud investigation? Well, I've seen a lot of problems of buyers dealing with fraudulent suppliers. And so even my industry experience, happy to bring it in to this unit to make it real for you. I've already spent time writing reports with industry, with KPMG. I've got a second KPMG report coming out this year in the area of sustainability. Maybe next year it will be forensic accounting. I want to go over the basic segments of forensic accounting that we will be covering this semester. The subject intended learning outcomes are to explain the underlying concepts and functions of forensic accounting and fraud investigation, to evaluate approaches to preventing and detecting fraud and fraud schemes, to critically assess financial statement fraud, and to evaluate fraud against organizations, consumer fraud, and fraud in the e-commerce environment. Here is what we're going to be doing this semester, and I'm so excited because we've got 7 hexagons here. Right at the top, we can actually talk about the nature of fraud. We're going to look at the fraud motivation triangle, the fraud element triangle. We've got the profile of the fraudster. Did you know that 80% of people may commit fraud given the circumstances? 10% will never do it no matter what the circumstances, and 10% of people will do it all the time. Knowing who you are or knowing who people you are partnering with is pretty important, I think. Okay. We're going to look at the triangle of fraud prevention, fraud detection, fraud investigation, and legal action. Why? Because it just gets more and more expensive as we go from fraud prevention all the way to legal action. Prevention is better than detection, detection is better than investigation, and investigation is better than legal action. We're going to look at theft investigation methods, concealment investigation methods, conversion investigation methods, and also we're going to be looking at interview or inquiry investigation methods. How do you interview? What questions should you ask? How can you tell if someone is lying in an interview? And we're going to be looking at different aspects of behavior in terms of time, distance, in terms of phonetics, that is the verbal communication cues, and also the body language. And we go across, this is an accounting unit, so we're going to be looking at revenue, inventory, financial statement frauds. We're looking at fraud schemes, the symptoms and ways to follow up. The fraud exposure triangle, where we're looking at the management and directors and the relationship with others, the organization and strategy, and then financial results and operating characteristics. Last but not least, we want to look at the e-commerce fraud, fraud against organizations, consumer and e-commerce fraud. E-commerce fraud trends 2024, supplier fraud, consumer fraud, merchant fraud. We've got fraud where consumers are the victim, frauds where merchants are the victim. Wow, there is so much to learn in this forensic accounting space. Please join me on this journey. Welcome to Forensic Accounting. Looking forward to seeing you in the class. But last but not least, I better tell you how we're going to do the assessment. As you can see, in weeks 4 and 8, there's 20% devoted to some multiple choice and short answer question tests. In week 11 we're going to have a 30% assessment on an individual assignment, presentation and written submission. Finally, there's going to be an exam, 50%. This is totally worthwhile because the content you're learning is going to be rich. You can take it into job interviews. You can make an informed decision about what you're going to do in your future career as an accountant, as a fraud investigator, as a consultant, as a senior management working in an organization that has to figure out how to create a culture of honesty to minimize fraud under your purview. Wow. What is most important for your learning resources is that you get this textbook, or at least the e-copy. And the e-copy is amazing because the resources that go with the e-copy, the PowerPoint slides, I've adjusted them, of course, but you get to see the original PowerPoint slides, and also you get to have access to an audio reading of the textbook from end to end. And I've actually gone through the audio reading of the textbook over 3 times now in the last 12 weeks. Amazing, amazing, amazing. You've got to get into the audio. It is so amazing. Okay, not last but not least, I've made a lot of videos of the PowerPoint slides for every week for you to follow, and I hope it adds a little bit more life and excitement to this amazing area of forensic accounting. This is O'Connor. Welcome to Forensic Accounting.